Hello, darlings, and welcome to episode 2,
Season 3
of Front Porch Feelings.
Hey.
Hi. Today we are talking about escaping the ordinary. Okay.
This is going to be one of my favorite episodes.
We are in the straight up sun, so we'll do our best with the buttons and such. I like that our emergency pizza thing is what's in the background here. That is our lunch today when we get to that point. Okay.
Domino's, you guys are good people.
Yeah, our adventure for today is emergency pizza. Okay, so we talked earlier about escape the ordinary. We talked about reasons and ways to live a bigger life.
Right.
And last week we did the top 5 reasons for... I've already forgotten my last week's podcast. Oh, how to thrive in 2025.
That's right.
No edits, no cuts, no...
Never, ever,
no
ever.
re-recording here, ladies and gents. So we actually thought it might be fun to continue with our top 5. We'll do it until it doesn't feel right anymore. If it stops feeling normal and natural, we'll switch it up and do something else. Yeah?
Top 5 rock anthems?
No. Maybe later.
Maybe later?
You should just be focused on top 5 reasons to live a bigger life and your dad joke that's going to come in at the end. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Top 5 reasons to live a bigger life. And I want to point out at first, obviously, I am not a health professional. I did, however, do some research before doing this, and I have some facts here from the Mayo Clinic, Harvard Health, the Center for Brain Health, and the National Institute for Health.
Yeah.
So,
and like every episode, right? You definitely do your research.
Yeah.
In addition to your own opinion, right? There are other academics that you read about.
Absolutely. And I mean, we always talk about it's a choose your own adventure. Take what you need, leave what you don't. The pieces that you're not sure about, go forth and do great things with them and learn more about them. It's what we do every day.
Right.
So, number 1 in our top 5 reasons to escape the ordinary and live a bigger life is it's good for your head. Number 2,
it's good for your heart.
Number 3 is that it's good for your stomach.
And that makes sense when we get into it.
We'll get there.
It's good for your stories. Mm-hmm. And who doesn't like a good story?
Absolutely. And it's good for your circle. So we are going to dive straight in. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Now, the reason that what's really great is that you had no idea at the time that I was basing this entire episode as we formatted what we wanted to do for January. I based this entire episode off of
my Christmas present.
Your big gift this year. Yeah.
And it's a good thing because if you had told me about it before, then it wouldn't be a surprise.
I know. And I am the living worst. I'm like, here's a present I bought you for 6 months from now. Here, please take it. Let me just see you enjoy it and love it.
You might not even be finished with it before you want to tell me about it.
Every day that I was working on it, I was like, I'm working on your present. And you were like, what is it? And I was like, oh, I really want to tell you so bad. It's really hard for me.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
What was my big Christmas gift? If you are watching us, the video for this podcast, I am holding 24 black hand-drawn envelopes. Each one of these envelopes has an adventure. Mm-hmm. One for indoors, one for outdoors for every month of the year. So my Christmas present is a year-long adventure.
It is 24 adventures. And if you, since you set your mic down, if you say anything, I'll stick mine over there to you. So there are 2 for January, and we say one is in and one is out. And the idea is that in order to have adventures and to do new things and to try new stuff, you don't have to spend a bunch of money. So some of them are out, and it's the cost of a ticket or the cost of a meal or the cost of whatever. And some of them are in, and they are still going to be the cost of the canvas and the cost of the paint. But there are others that I was able to get thrifty on, and I knew that this would not bother you in any way. Actually, to the contrary, I really thought you would be even more excited by the fact that I found ways to do some stuff for free. I found ways to do things deeply discounted. Here in Hawaii, if you live here, you can get a Kamaina discount, which is a local discount at some of the places.
Right.
Or you can even potentially get into some of these attractions for free certain times of the year or month.
Right.
And I highly encourage you to look in your area, whether you live in a small area or a big area, and Google free events, because here's the stitch. Museums, even in Augusta, Georgia, which is a smaller area compared to a place like Atlanta or Savannah or something like that.
Yeah, it's a mid-sized American city.
Sure. We still have a couple museums. And
several.
There are days of the week or the month in which it is free to go in there. So utilize those opportunities and resources. And I would even venture to say that there are places in your own town that you have never been.
Right.
You may have lived in, for example, the Augusta area for 20 years and never made it over to one of the, landmarks that are there. There are some really neat things that are historical there, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I just never went over there.
Common things I do to find a potentially unique or historical thing in an area that we're going to travel to ahead of time. I look at Wikipedia for that city or town or province, and I look at TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor will have not only if there's a tourism industry in there, that will have a bunch of sites, but also it's crowdsourced, right? People can say, this is a thing that we have in our area.
And I did some of that with your adventures. And then in addition to that, I actually looked at a whole bunch of Facebook pages, a whole bunch of, it's jumped out of my mind right now, where it's the forums, Reddits, that kind of stuff. And again, crowdsourced information. So, if we've got time at the end, do you want to go through a couple of your adventures to kind of highlight them?
Totally.
And that will give y'all, hopefully by the end of this, you'll feel inspired to start having some adventures. And I want to say out loud that adventure, it feels like a big word. It feels like it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of planning and a lot of money. And I promise you, we're going to prove to you that it is not, and it does not, and it's super achievable and so worth sometimes just a minuscule amount of time or money. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Now we'll tell you what you can do later, but now we want to tell you the why it is so important that you have adventures and you live a slightly bigger life. Number one, it is good for your head. Now, I know this guy is not coming over like it's supposed to. So I made a note from Harvard Health, and I want to read this to you. Most of what we do on this podcast is never going to be like read word for word, but it's really important, I think, that you know that medical professionals, scientists, they know this already, but doing new things stimulates the growth of new neural connections, enhancing cognitive flexibility, boosting creativity, improving memory. I need so much of that. And promoting overall brain health through a process called neuroplasticity. It basically builds bridges in your brain.
Right.
And, if you walk down a bridge for so long, you're going to start wearing it out. It's going to start falling apart a little bit. You're going to stop walking down that bridge. This is rebuilding those connections you already had and building new ones. And I mean, all of that is amazing to me, and I'm here for it. It helps problem solving because problem solving uses a different part of your brain than, say, reading a book or processing incoming information like watching videos or watching TV or whatever.
Right. You have to focus your mind, and it becomes the focused activity at the moment. Right. Your whole attention is on this thing.
And then in addition to that, on that same line of problem solving, is that it breaks you out of the mundane. When what you do every day is get up, drive to work, come home, make the meal, read the story, bathe the kids, put them to bed, you have essentially already worked out all the problems that you're going to have throughout there, and you get a great routine down, and that's amazing, and that's wonderful, and it's got to be so helpful for your life.
It's kind of minimal mental stimulation, though.
At that point, your brain's like, oh no, we got it. And you're on autopilot. And then you're not exercising your brain. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So already I'm like, I want my brain to be healthier. I want my brain to do more for me. Please, brain, remember more things. Please, I'm begging you. It's like, buddy, I know you can. So I'm already on board just with this tip alone.
Excuse me. There's one thing about, having a routine, because that adds stability and security to your life.
It's extremely valuable.
Right. It is valuable. But then there's an element of do something out of your routine frequently.
I'm going to just move your microphone a little closer to your mouth, big guy. I could not agree more with that. So I think already it's good for your head. That is good enough for me. But let's go further and say it's good for your heart / emotional state. Now, is it physically good for your heart? Like physically cardiovascular system? Could be.
Yeah, if you're physically doing something.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that when we talk about the stomach.
Okay.
But your emotional state. Now, hello, airplane. Just like clockwork.
This episode, section 2, is brought to you by Hawaiian Air.
Yep. Hawaiian / Alaskan Air.
Flight 1611. Landing in Honolulu in about 3 minutes.
Yep, we made some of that up.
Current altitude, 1,000 feet.
But yeah, listen, it's good for your emotional state. If you know much about the chemical reactions in your body, you know that dopamine is the happy chemical. When that's released, you literally feel better.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah. Oh, geez, Louise. Wah, wah, wah. I swear I'm going to get this panel working. It's going to have the laughter, the clapping, the cheering, and it's going to have a wah, wah, wah button.
Aww.
It's going to be for your dad joke at the end. No, so doing new things activates the dopamine chemical. Now, some of y'all are out there, especially the younger generation is out there going, doing new things stresses me to stress out. True. But for the most part, when we're talking about doing new things, we're talking about things that you are more or less mentally prepared for, that doesn't feel stressful. It feels like a new fun thing, adventure in a positive light. So when you're doing those things, you're building that dopamine, and it actually suppresses cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Right.
So
that's the important part, I think.
I mean, we're squashing the thing that stresses us out, and we're raising up the thing that makes us feel better. And I want to reiterate that I don't think dopamine means happy. I think dopamine is relief. It's literally what I keep saying, which is better. It's not going to make you joyful, but it's going to make you feel better, whatever your version of better is.
Mental stimulation.
Yeah. So, and then I like this one because I think that a new experience will bond people together.
Yes.
And that's kind of twofold for me. That is one, oh, you did the thing, I did the thing. We both did the thing. Look at this thing we have in common. When we thought at first that we had nothing to talk about and nothing in common at all. And here we are finding that ground we can both stand on and connect with each other. Right?
And it's one thing to, let's say we ran a marathon in different years.
Yeah.
And okay, that can bond us because we have a story about running a marathon.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that activity actually together at the same time with someone else, or with a group of people, or with a lot of people, or with 5,000 people, that shared experience, like that could be forever.
Absolutely. I actually want to go backwards one step, and I want to say, maybe you ran a marathon and I am going to. I would just like to pause briefly to say I will never run a marathon. That is not my dream or passion. So I just want to say this is strictly hypothetical. So I'm put that out there. But you ran a marathon and I'm going to.
Right.
And so we still have that shared experience opportunity.
Yes.
That gives us, again, something to talk about, something to emotionally connect with other people, because when you do those big things, like you hike a certain mountain, you run a marathon, you take a trip to Hawaii, you skydive, or even you just went to that place that's been around for 40 years and met the owner, and she only comes out once in a while, and the other person met her 10 years ago or what. Like, it doesn't have to be big monumental things, but regardless, there is an emotional connection that can be built there,
right?
Or at least a camaraderie or a level of respect. And you get that with experiences.
Absolutely.
You know? I feel like we fully covered that. So it's good for your head. It's good for your heart.
It's good for your stomach.
Hear me out.
Please explain. Please explain.
Hear me out, okay? This is a little bit of what you make it, all right? I actually left my primary point. There are 2 primary points here in my mind, and I left half of them off, and that half is my favorite. So I want to cover that one first, so I don't forget about it. But it's good for your stomach because hear me out. I'm gonna really stand.
I am all ears.
Adventures in a lot of situations involve food.
That is true. That is true. Even if you bring it with you.
Yes, the little darlings and I did a lot of traveling when they were younger. We had the opportunity to visit a lot of countries, and I am not joking when I said that the 2 primary factors when we lived overseas, traveling from country to country is extremely easy and for the most part very cheap. You can jump on this little airline. All of my military, like government people, will immediately understand Ryanair. You will sit with your knees in your chest, but you will only pay €14 to do it. So there's that. But we had the opportunity to travel quite a lot. And the 2 factors in there were how much is the flight and what do they eat there? So I was like, let me see. Barcelona. Oh, tapas. Yes. Let's go for €18 round trip like per person.
Sounds cheap.
So adventures can be good for your stomach in that aspect. Plus, I think if you go somewhere else, you should 100% make it a point to put aside whatever you think you know about your palate and eat the food the locals eat. This is a little like commercial over here on the side. Because don't be the guy that's like chicken fingers and French fries when you're in Barcelona, Spain. Eat the food that the locals eat. Be respectful. Be adventurous. Give it a try. The worst thing that happens is you go, this isn't for me, and you spend a few dollars.
Right. And the way, well, you still have to tell me which things I should not eat, because not everything is food. But
please, I will tell that story one day. But yes, I do have to spend some time going, that's not food. Don't put that in your mouth.
The way I look at food, adventures or not, is unless I'm allergic to it, then I can stomach it. Right? It doesn't mean that something new is going to be extremely hot or spicy or weird or squishy or something like that. Textures are going to be different, but for the most part, if people can consume it, that means you, being a person, can also consume it. So I don't want to be. I'm not the person that says, "Oh, I don't do fish," or I don't eat lamb, or I don't, eat, red vegetables or something like that. Like, if people can eat it, that means you can also eat it, unless you have some kind of diagnosed
major
dietary
aversion
situation.
And I think life is too short to eat things you don't like and to go places you don't want to go and be with people that are not kind and all of that. So obviously, if you're super, super not into it, a butterfly just flew by. I don't know if you saw it. It just flew right by, a great big butterfly.
His name was
pretty exciting. Peter the butterfly. Goodbye, buddy. Later. Yeah, so I mean, I would not recommend, if you know you hate something, eating it anyway. But I do want to reiterate, you should try new things as often as possible. Now, the other part, the secondary piece of it's good for your stomach. This is what you make it, okay? It is scientifically proven that your brain connects certain experiences or people with, happiness or not happiness. And I'm using not happiness as a general, pile of stuff because not happiness can be stress or pain or anger or, just like anything that's not a happy feeling. Your brain will start connecting things that are as minor as the tone of someone's voice or a specific person's voice.
Right.
So that's kind of wild and crazy.
And I have had that coworker.
And you're like,
they didn't call out sick. They should have.
Sadness.
They should have.
I want to say I dropped my phone the last podcast as well. I'm just looking.
Will do.
I'm just looking at the time to see if we've been talking too long. And it's so bright out here I can't see, but we're probably okay. Anywho, so the other thing is you can trick your brain a little bit into thinking things make you happier than they do at first. I believe that adventures will make you happy.
Yes.
I do believe that. However, if walking around a city for several hours feels like, oh my gosh, I have to walk for several hours, that sounds like exercise. Exercise may as well be a 4-letter word. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to exercise. It feels like a terrible thing to do on vacation. Your brain can start to reallocate that activity into the happy column.
Yeah.
So you're walking around a city, you're experiencing new things, you're having a little snack here, you're eating the Belgian waffles, you're eating the gelato, whatever you're eating.
You're hydrating the whole time.
Jeez. Okay, Dad. Drink water.
I happen to be a dad.
And so by the end of the day, you're like, oh my goodness, I walked 14,000 steps. That's over 5 miles. That's probably like 7.5 to 8 miles worth of walking. I exercised today and I did it on the back of an adventure.
Right. And like we were talking recently, if you go out on an adventure, it doesn't have to be 7 miles, but if it is, great. Like
awesome.
That's not a bad
happy
thing.
Accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to a gym. You're not going out to specifically do the activity that is just exercise. If you're going to a museum, they're generally big and require walking. That's good. So exercise in that aspect is a byproduct of it, right?
Right. And I like the idea of knowing that you did something good for your head, but you also did something good for your body. Why would you not?
Which helps with the whole cortisol thing and the dopamine thing.
Ooh, look at that overlap and that circle back around, which we're going to do multiple times. And then I think also, once you've done one of these activities, your body will remind you maybe later that night or the next day that it was exercise. But hiking, swimming, surfing, riding horses.
Yep.
Riding horses will use all of your muscles. You and I both have spent a good portion of our childhood riding horses, and that will work you out.
So I don't carry a smartwatch, right? I
do, and every step counts.
I have a Garmin that I periodically wear, but I haven't worn it in quite a while, but it did count my steps.
Yeah.
So I generally don't know how many steps I take throughout the day. But on a good adventure day, at the end of it, how I'm reminded that it was probably worthwhile, my feet are sore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. And my watch counts my steps, and I go, do you want to walk 400 more steps so we can hit 10,000? Do you want to just walk up and down our 3 flights of stairs just one or two times so we can hit that mark? Yeah. So it can be good for your stomach in that aspect as well. It can promote a more physically healthy lifestyle.
Slim that waist down.
Slim it down now, y'all. So it's good for your head. It's good for your heart. It's potentially good for your stomach.
Yep.
And it's good for your framework.
Please explain framework.
Okay, so your foundation is more or less built, right? You kind of know who you are as a person in general. You know where you came from. You know where you are now, where you were, maybe not where you're going to be in the future. But what is always changing are the rooms in the house that is you.
The experiences that not define you. The experiences that help your character evolve and grow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that framework of who you are, it's adjustable.
It is adjustable.
It is adjustable. And it really bugs me, which I very seldom say things like this, but it really bugs me when people go, that's just how I am. Particularly when they are referring to maybe being unkind, being rude or abrasive with others, having no patience.
Right. Negative qualities.
Yeah. And you're like, that's just how I am. No, that's how you're choosing to be.
That's absolutely right.
You can shift that framework. You can knock this wall down and build another with a window that you can see out of. Get a little sunshine and some vitamin D, my friend, and
that's right.
Perk up, would you? So there's my soapbox.
There are so many. There's so many seniors out there that are learning new hobbies, learning new skills.
Oh my gosh!
Learning to paint, learning to dance for the first time.
And if you've never adventured in your life, if you've never given yourself any time or energy to do new things, learn new things, you don't know what you like. Can I go like a whole rewind, like zoop around, arrows point a whole different direction for a second? I think the concept, now some people are going to come for me a little bit over this statement, but
bring it.
Little D, I talk about this feature of his all the time. As he was growing up, he played like every sport. And we would circle through like the soccer circuit because he played soccer for 9 years. Oh man, I loved being a soccer mom, by the way. And I didn't even get ejected from games every season.
Not every season.
Not every season.
But it wasn't, the count was not 0.
The count was not 0. Go ahead, slide tackle him again. Go ahead. Anyway, like somebody's dad is on the field right now. Anyway, so circle back. We would meet kids that did rec league stuff, which if you don't have kids or you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, that's the community league. You pay a small fee, everybody participates. Or they would play travel ball, which is literally what it says, where they would go around all these different places and play at a higher level. And that was a tryout situation and all of that. And we would encounter these families. And let me state, I think there's nothing wrong with this. I just think that the flip side of it is fantastic. And that is that some of these people, their children would play one sport their entire lives, thinking that they would potentially go on to do that as a career or whatever. And then for some of these kids, they get to college and the college folks are like, yeah, you're really good, but we have great and amazing and incredible and prodigy over here. And we really just don't have space for you. And so then that kid is like, oh gosh, well, without insert sport here, I don't have any
other interests because this is the only thing I've ever done.
This has become a fundamental part of my personality. So Little D, and I know this is not exactly in the vein of adventure, but on some level, I think it is. He played soccer. He played baseball. He cheered. He was a call leader for his cheer team. Had the most fantastic toe touch you could ever dream of. Like the crowd would chant for him to do a jump off with our other best jumper on the team. He played flag football. He played boys volleyball. I mean, he did all of these things and had a pogo stick and rollerblades and, did all of these things and came out of it such a well-rounded person that liked a ton of stuff, that was able to participate in a ton of stuff and have a lot of different friends and circles because of all that connection. Because he did Boy Scouts and he plays the guitar. I mean, it's like he's the prime example of do something fun, do something new. And I think we could all benefit from that sort of attitude where it's like, oh, I don't know. I've never played soccer. I don't know if I'm any good at it. Yeah, all right, I'll come play with y'all this weekend. That sounds good. I'm too old probably to play soccer at this point. Like, I'll break a hip or something. No. But I would, if I was invited, I would go play. So anyhow. So it gives you the opportunity, it's good for your framework to explore different parts of who you are and what you might be good at. You have no idea unless you try.
And it might be fun, even if you're not good at it.
It could
It
be.
might just be
It
fun.
probably will. People say it might, and I'm like, it probably will. So it builds your self-confidence. And since I told a long story about Little D, I'll be super brief about this. But when I lived in Italy, when I moved there, I was on an American installation, and I'm just a little small town girl from Tennessee, middle Tennessee, Trailer Park, Tennessee. Okay, like tiny area. And I was literally afraid to leave the installation and walk out the gate into the Italian community.
Why was that?
I had never been anywhere. And there was little to no diversity where I grew up.
Right.
Which is a whole other podcast. But there was almost no diversity. So I didn't hear people speak other languages. I didn't see food prepared differently. I was not exposed to any of that. So I was afraid. After 3 years of being in a multicultural environment and having the chance to travel, I would literally, like we talked about earlier, look places up and go, okay, well, we can go there for cheap. We got a couple of days off school with the kids or whatever.
Let's rock and roll.
Let's go. And it did not matter that they literally spoke Greek. It was just like, well, I'll figure it out when I get there. The level of confidence that we just been to Korea. Mm-hmm. I've never been to Asia before that. I've never been to any area that has and please correct me, I'm probably wrong about my verbiage on this, but has a more symbol type alphabet.
Right, characters.
So it was not a traditional alphabet where I could.
It wasn't the Latin alphabet, it was a character alphabet.
Right. So I couldn't muddle my way through that. I was super, super, super lost. But it was fine. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't worried because I'm confident now about my ability to work things out.
Yep.
And then you like to be Indiana Jones.
I've wanted to be. So I'm a child of the '80s, as you are, but I was.
Wow.
I was.
How dare you? No, I'm fine.
I was around for the whole '80s.
I was around for a very great deal of it.
Yeah. And I don't know, something about the sense of Indiana Jones, the Goonies was also influential on me growing up. Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Love that.
Literally.
Love that.
There's something about that sense of discovery, especially when you're away from civilization. Mm-hmm. So for me, when I think of adventure, right, that's good for your framework.
Right.
I think of state parks, national parks, right? Every state in the union has sometimes hundreds of parks in their state, right? Every one of them has a website. You can see what particular things are there, whether it's a waterfall or a stream or X number of miles of hiking trails or mountain biking trails, specific flowers, specific animal species that are found nowhere else in the world. There's all kinds of cool stuff, historic, relics of cemeteries or cabins or old churches or a grist mill. There's all kinds of interesting things everywhere. So when I think of adventure, I picture myself either kayaking down a river where you don't see any houses in your peripheral. And so there's a sense of discovery that maybe you see something that has been there a long time, but you've never seen it. Maybe it's a particular rock with a unique looking tree, or a trail. Just walking on a trail costs nothing.
Absolutely.
Most parks are free.
Or they ask for a small donation to contribute to the upkeep or something, and then that becomes what you want to do. And then you're getting outside, you're getting fresh air, you're moving your body, you're all the things we've already talked about.
It just reiterates and reinforces it, right?
Over and over again.
And so with that, right, one of those things is if you enjoyed it, you may want to do it again. And that might increase your drive to go out and adventure more, right? You might find something that you didn't know you were missing.
And you might want to take your people with you.
Take more people with you. Yeah.
Take your family, take your friends. The last thing in here when I want about it's good for your framework, Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
Sorry, I laughed right into the
Last Crusade reference.
So sorry. It's about humility and diversity as well. We talked about the multicultural, diverse areas in places like.
Someone's got some jams. Hold on.
Oh, he's angry. Maybe not. Maybe just the music is angry. But I have been in some countries, and I was joking with you about this earlier. Well, let's set the standard here. So just so we have a clear idea of the facts, and that is
the standard.
That is that we are not wealthy.
Fact.
We're not poor. We're sort of in that.
Also fact.
We're sort of in that upper lower level. Would you say? Like just right at the bottom of the medium, maybe.
We're in the middle of the middle.
Are we in the middle of the middle?
Pretty much the middle of the middle.
That's only because we are not supporting 4 children anymore.
We would be cheddar in the perfect grilled cheese.
Oh,
right in the middle.
All right. You don't want to put the cheddar right against the bun so it melts a little faster? But it can't be provolone. So we have to be.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, we have to be cheddar. Good point. Okay. But circling back here, I've been in some countries where I have thought, oh dang, like I'm like rich here. I'm rich here. And the people of that area have been so ridiculously excited to see my group, my nationality, whatever it was, depending on where I was and who I was with, because they knew we were going to bring some economic happiness to their area. We were supporting their businesses and supporting their services.
There are a lot of economies that thrive and are completely built off of tourism.
Absolutely. But then I've also, on the flip side, and I've seen places that have a large homeless population and a very deep levels of poverty, and having grown up in a level of poverty, that hurts me.
Right.
I just want to be like, transfer all dollars into, like I just want to give it all away.
You are for humanity.
Something. I wish I could. But then I've also been in areas where I go, oh, don't touch anything here. We are extremely poor here.
Like the mall in Korea.
Yeah. That is the first thing that came to my head, and I'll tell it really quick because our time is ticking on the bottom. So we're a little over our time. That's okay. But this is worth telling. Listen, first of all, you were quite the spectacle in Korea because you are a giant and you have all this facial hair and all these tattoos. Both things that
I stand out in a crowd.
Yeah. All of those are things that I did not see much of at all in Korea.
Right.
But we were in a store in the mall.
We were in a very, very high-end mall.
But you couldn't really, it wasn't extremely obvious because it was very sleek, very modern. It's its lack of stuff showed you that.
It's one of those high-end retailers where they have minimal merchandise
and decor.
And it's just like, this stuff is 19,000 times the cost of what it took to make it.
So we were walking through this store and I already knew just by the way things were presented. The
ambiance of no personalities.
I literally put both of my hands behind my back and just kind of walked like that, where I was like, please do not fear me, staff. I will not touch your beautiful, expensive things, but not you.
I didn't necessarily go full cousin Eddie walking into it, right? Because I have some sophistication to me.
Absolutely.
But
you
I'm,
touched stuff.
I'm not afraid of anything.
You touched some stuff and you moved some things around.
I was looking at a sweater and it was.
You were not looking at a sweater. You were looking at a fur coat.
Oh yeah, fur coat. Same thing. A fuzzy sweater, fur coat.
It was a sweater. No, it was a literal $7,000 fur coat.
Right.
Right.
And I wanted to see it. It's a coat. It can be for anybody.
And you did see it.
Yep.
And
I picked it up and I showed it to you. Hey, check this out.
And my face was panicked because over your shoulder, well, I shouldn't say over your shoulder, but around you, around your side, was this tiny Korean woman who was doing the equivalent of Southern women clutching her pearls. Okay. Her little hands were balled up in fists and her whole back was rigid. And there was some fear in her face. And you were like, I'm just going to look through look at this, babe. That's nice, right? And I'm like,
and I put it back on the rack. And then I got another one.
Oh,
I showed you a second one, and same thing.
I was
then I put it back on the rack, and then we started to walk away because there was obviously nothing for us in the store that we were interested in.
Yes.
So as we're walking away,
not even as we're walking away, I have to go backwards here because it was the instant that your hand came off of that very fancy engraved wooden hanger that she bustled straight over there, and she is smoothing them on the sides. Yep. She is like blowing the potential dust off of it. It was so hysterical, and I was like, please don't take me in any more of those stories. It made me very nervous. So all that to say, we've been in some very wealthy areas and some very impoverished areas, and it gives you a sense of humility on both sides.
Right.
So I think that's good for you. Okay, so it's good for your head, it's good for your heart, it's good for your stomach. I'm going to go like that when I say it's good for your framework. And lastly, but not least, it's good for your circle. Okay?
Circle meaning your people.
Yes. And there's going to be a lot of overlap here because I think some of these things are very foundational and very full puzzle. So you need all the pieces.
And they reinforce each other, and it just continues to grow and grow.
Absolutely. So when you have adventures, new experiences, or repeating experiences that might have given you a new piece of, the experience as a whole, those looking at you, and that is your friends, your family. When I say family, I want to say your children and or your parents or your siblings, whatever age you are.
Whoever is in your life.
Whoever's noticing you and your behavior and activities, your coworkers, maybe social media followers or people that listen to your podcast.
Hey, if you are listening, thank you.
Thank you very much. They see you and they see that it's possible. You do not know who you might be inspiring or who might find you extremely relatable in your right nowness.
Right.
Okay. Please don't wait to do things until you're perfect, because there will always be a thing. You will always be a little tight on cash or a little tight on time, or the knee is going to hurt, or the kids have a thing, or your husband's like, I don't really want to, or whatever. There's always going to be a little thing that can hold you back. But if you just plow forward, regardless, if that's what really is going to make you happy,
right,
then the people that are watching you, they will relate to that. They'll go, yeah, well, my person doesn't normally want to do stuff with me either, so maybe I'll go with you, or maybe I'll do it as well.
We know a lot of people like that they're like, my person doesn't do this, but they encourage me to, because it's something I like to do. So they just go out it alone, or with, they find a group of strangers and go out hiking or something.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Live a big life. Live a bigger life than your ordinary everyday in, day out. What did we recently read? Life is too short to just pay bills and lose weight.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what's the point? That's all you're doing in life.
Yeah. So you don't know who you're inspiring, and as a result might return that favor and inspire you too. And the last thing I want to talk about in this is my bonus dads, T and B.
Yes.
My bonus dads, let me tell you, I love them.
They're so awesome.
They are smart, and I mean clever, but also financially smart. They make really good choices about how they spend their time and their days and their energy. They do these things like, they have an annual tradition of Thanksgiving that they do with their friends. They do Friendsgiving, and they've done it for they made a post about it from the 80s, so at least 30 years or something. And they really hold true to those traditions and really make choices, very thoughtful choices about what they do. And we were joking because we sent out our Christmas card, and we sent out a funny Christmas card. It was peace on earth, goodwill toward men. And we were all in our Goodwill clothes. And it was
hilarious.
It was hilarious.
I did keep the cap.
But it's not the one you're wearing right now.
No.
Little D was in a top hat, just in case that needed to be said out loud. But we got TMB's Christmas card when we got back here to the island, and it said, we started the year, like, I wish I had it in my hand because I would love to read it to you, but we started the year in this place and then went on a tour to this place and then did this thing over here and
everywhere they visited.
Yes, and we celebrated graduations in Augusta, which was our daughters. And I think Boston maybe was the other one that they were in. Forgive me, guys, if I'm wrong. And then they were like, and we ended it with
here, and
Zimbabwe.
Yep, and Zambia.
Zimbabwe. There was another place in there. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But they live this big life. And here's the thing, maybe a big life where you're traveling internationally and you are taking these long trips. Maybe that's not your jam, or it's just literally, it is not possible for you to do. Regardless, you can be living a bigger life, having some adventures, doing things like that will inspire you, pique your creativity, move your body, release the dopamine, squash the cortisol, trim your waistline. I mean, you have all the reasons in the whole wide world to do them. Plus, we're watching you. We would like to see what you get into. We want to live vicariously through you.
I really enjoy asking people about their personal adventures and seeing what things they've been on. There's a young man that works with me, and his major hobby is golf, and he looks forward to when he gets to travel to play golf in new places.
Yeah.
And so he just does it, and I really like that. I have nothing for golf.
We're not golfers, but it's okay by us.
But he really, really enjoys it, and so he that's one of the things he gets enthusiastic about.
So he shares that and connects you to it. I mean, it's all right here. Season 3, episode 2. Escape the ordinary.
Escape the ordinary.
So define adventure, anything out of the ordinary.
Yes.
Top 5 reasons. It's good for your head.
It's good for your heart.
It's good for your stomach.
It's good for your stories.
And it's good for your circle.
I love it.
Me too.
We thrive on it.
We do. So
do the kids.
They love it. Oh my gosh. The one major thing that they've said about us being away is like, oh, we don't really go on as many adventures. And I love that they connect us and our presence.
The girls are on their way back from an adventure right now.
Yes, they are. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, for sure. I mean, we got them all an adventure. For the youngest, piloted a plane.
Yep.
And I mean, he'll never forget it. And so, yeah, just live your life, have big adventures, do all the things you want to do. That's it for us for right now for season 2. Season 3, episode 2. I'm trying to find the button. And we hope that you'll join us next Monday for the next podcast. And until next time, please take care of yourselves.
And each other. Oh, wait.
Wait. What? Tell me.
I have a joke.
Oh, your joke. We almost missed it. Okay.
It's about adventure, though.
Oh, please tell me. Okay, let's have it.
What did the mountain climber name his son?
I don't know. What did the mountain climber name his son?
Cliff. Have a good day, everyone.
See y'all later.